Recent heavy rains have ended Oklahoma's drought, but the city of Norman is preparing for future water shortages. The city is reviewing a plan to clean up water used by its residents and put it back into Lake Thunderbird, but that proposal has drawn opposition. This report was prepared in collaboration with ONR contributing partner, the Journal-Record newspaper.
Lake Thunderbird is the main source of drinking water for the city of Norman and supplies raw water for Midwest City and Del City. To help meet future demand, the Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy District has commissioned a study by the consulting firm Garver to look into adding treated wastewater to the lake to increase the raw water supply. Randy Worden is the general manager of the COMCD.
When you're talking about serving 250,000 people, in our case, you have to plan for the future, and that's what we're trying to do.
Norman is the largest user of water from Thunderbird, and Norman Utilities Director Ken Comiskey says the city is already behind the curve on water demand.
We need more water just to fulfill the needs that we have now, to fulfill our current customers, because on an annual basis, we've been purchasing water from Oklahoma City, or last year we bought some excess water from Del City. And so the first and foremost is to make sure we have enough water for our existing customers.
Norman could purchase additional water from Oklahoma City through the pipeline from Lake Atoka, but Worden says that option is cost prohibitive.
We're looking at, in the neighborhood of $2.75 million to begin with, just to firm up our supply, and that will double over the next 10 years.
Worden maintains the water reuse plan is the most cost-effective, but several obstacles remain before it could become a reality. Lake Thunderbird is already polluted by silty red clay that runs off construction sites and by pesticides and fertilizers that run off lawns. Midwest City Environmental Services Director Bill Janacek is concerned adding treated wastewater into Thunderbird could further pollute the lake, which the state has designated a sensitive water supply.
Sensitive water supply definition is basically zero wastewater discharges into the drainage basin. So I essentially didn't think that there was any way that could fly.
One of Janacek's biggest concerns involves unregulated chemicals such as hormones and pharmaceuticals.
These contaminants of emerging concern are thousands of compounds that grow every year because of analytical technology. So where do you draw the line? Best place to draw it, in my opinion, is zero discharge into the lake.
Comiskey shares those concerns.
We could not present this phase one plan to our customers and say, okay, here we're going to do this, we're going to put reuse water back in the reservoir without addressing the chemicals of emerging concern and without addressing the pharmaceuticals and the endocrine disruptors, things of that nature.
Tim Ward is the Assistant Director for External Affairs for the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality. Ward says contaminants of emerging concern are a growing problem for municipal water supplies.
We know that there are pharmaceuticals in the water. We just don't know how much. We know they've been found in certain water bodies throughout the country. We couldn't tell you today how much is in that particular water body. We just don't look for them. The testing is very expensive.
Ward says cities such as Wichita Falls, Texas, have already experimented with wastewater reclamation projects.
Because of the rains, they are now no longer doing that. They've decommissioned that facility because their lake is now full. But during that time that they were using water reuse, they were very successful at it.
But Janacek still has his doubts about wastewater reclamation.
Do I think that the technology exists to remove the contaminants of emerging concern to my satisfaction? I guess my bottom line would be they just got to prove it to me.
Comiskey hopes plans can move ahead for the second and third phase of the study into water reuse.
We need those studies. Otherwise we're guessing. And so the engineering study, the technical piece, we need to have taken place.
But Janacek wants to block further studies by removing the $180,000 approved for Phase 2.
I don't see the need for the money for Phase 3 to design a plant until they can document and show that they can remove the contaminants. What is the easiest way to remove the contaminants? Don't put them in there in the first place.
If that happens, Worden says it'll be back to square one.
If phase 2 is not approved by our board, then we will have to drop back and look at some of the alternatives for firming up our yield that we'd previously looked at that are more expensive.
COMCD board members will meet July 9th to decide whether to continue the second phase of the water reuse project.